and welcome to another maybe quick video, 10 minutes long, 5 minutes long, on wedding photography tips. My next video I'm going to show you is going to be on the YN600 video light, and just for now I'm going to turn it on and show you just how good it is, but then I will shut up about it and you'll see it in the next video. So there you go. So now we've got some light. Now we're shooting the video ISO 125 at f2. So we're getting a nice shallow depth of field. So I'm in the living room and we get the nice highlight next to shadow. Anyway, that being said, this video is now about wedding photography tips. Now, the reason why I've done it is because I haven't done a video for a while, so it's good to be back. And somebody asked me, it'd be great to let them know what the do's and don'ts are. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to let you know here in Leeds, in the UK where I am. I don't know if it'll be different where you are. I don't want to start spewing stuff out and everybody say no, it's different over here, you're wrong. This is where I am. One big drawback, you're not allowed to use flash. So the first tip for you is always go to the wedding. I mean, you should know beforehand, this is going to come under another tip, but always go to the wedding assuming that you can't use flash during the ceremony. And to be fair now, I don't even use it when on the odd occasion they say you can use it. I just can't be bothered, I just don't use it anyway. So make sure that you've got good enough glass. Let's say for example now, if you remember when we started this video and we didn't have no, we'll class it as flash even though it's not flash. Imagine what would I have done if I hadn't have had that light there? Do you know what I mean? It could have been a disaster, if you know what I'm saying, but luckily for me I've got that light. And I was on the ISO 125, 125, so I could have gone to 1250, but instead I opted to bring in a light. And that's another tip as well for photography. I've been doing a lot of video lately with my mate Dave, who I met by the way through helping on YouTube, which you may have seen on another video, and we now do a lot of work together and we're loving it, and he's getting me into video and I'm doing pictures and videos, making me a better photographer. And you could use like this YN600 here. This is something you could use to help you out. What I would say is though, it's just here on my left, just out of frame, so it's quite bright in my face. If I was to use it in the church, I'd get it really high up as I could get it and point it down, so that when the bride and the groom were looking at the officiant or the vicar, whatever you want to call them, then it's not dazzling like it is me now. Don't get me wrong, it ain't that bad, but it would be. I wouldn't want to be a bride and groom. I reckon they'd get a bit upset because it's just at that height. So get it right high up. And the thing of it is, if you've got a remote as well, I mean, I can just go down, down, and then I've just gone down a couple up and up with the orange. I went up a bit much then. And that's what you can do from the remote. If you're going to use it, make sure you turn it on before the bride and groom come in, so everybody gets used to seeing it there. That's one little tip. A vicar may not say out if you use that because it isn't flashing on and off all the time. It's just a constant light source and it's not putting everybody off. Make sure you have a good lens for low light photography. A nifty 50, if push comes to shove, a nifty 50 will do the job fantastic. I've used it, not now because obviously I've got better glass, but I've used a nifty 50 hundreds of times when I didn't have better glass, and it got me out of so many scrapes. Without that, I would have been kaput, and that helped me greatly. But another tip for you is you should already know before you actually get to the ceremony what you can and can't do. You should know where you can walk, where you're not allowed to walk. Now, I know one of the questions that this subscriber asked was, can you go on the altar? Can you go behind the altar? Can you go in front of the altar? Now, this is all stuff that you discussed beforehand. If you wait till the last minute when you get to the church, it's no good. The officiant might just say, or the vicar might say, look, well, you've got to stand there and that's that, and you haven't come prepared for that. So really, before you get there, you should know what you can do, where you can go and where you can't go. With that being said, there's a few times now that I've been at the pre-wedding meeting that they have, and I've had a talk to the vicar, to whoever's doing the ceremony, and they've given me instructions, and I've got there on the day, and then they say, oh no, you can't stand there now, oh no, you can't do that now. Now that is a real pig. but it does happen. I'll tell you now, it happens a lot. They'll tell you can do one thing, get there on the day and they change their mind and you're not allowed to do it. Now, with that being said, me personally, this is down to me, I'm not saying you do it. If I felt that they was telling me to do something that was unreasonable and it was going to make my pictures or my video really awful, I would gladly say something back. Obviously in a nice manner, you can't go shouting at them or really showing your authority, because they can just say, look, you're not doing the ceremony, go away, and there's nothing you can do about it. But I would definitely say, look, if I stand here, I'm going to be videoing and photographing the back of heads, and you didn't say that when we had the meeting last week, and the bride and groom were going to be upset. And then if they said, well, that's tough, John, that's the way it is, I'd say, right, can you just do me a favour then and come over here and explain that to the bride and groom before the ceremony starts? And I'd definitely make the vicar or the officiant do that. And then that way, when the bride sees a video or a pictures and says, why are you shooting back of my heads all the time, then she knows. If it was really, really bad, you could mock shots afterwards. You know, for the important ones, and that's what I do if push come to shove. But I'm just trying to think now, what else is a negative? They sometimes tell you to stand somewhere and you can't move. So like you might, let's say you're videoing me now or to photographing me, you could be where my light is and you could be stood there and you can't move. So that's the only angle you get through the full ceremony. That can happen, that's a negative. And again, if that's the case, you should already know that before you go, and the bride and groom should be already prepped that the pictures and the video during the ceremony ain't going to be as impressive as if you could move around. Now, with that being said, I've got to admit that over here in the UK and Leeds where I am, it's nothing to do with God, it's complete money. The last job I did, she said to me, the bride and groom haven't paid, they should have paid an extra 50 quid. And I would have had authority to walk and do basically what I want. That's exactly what she said to me in front of the bride and groom. She said, if they pay the extra money, you can do what you want, you can walk around, do whatever you like, apart from flash during the ceremony. If you don't pay the 50 quid, you've got to stay stood there. And to be honest, it really upset me, did that, but I have to just roll with it. Don't lose your rag and start having a go. As much as it is annoying, because they always chuck to you, it's about God. And over here where I live, it's nothing to do with God, it's about coin. If you don't pay the coin, you don't get married. So that happens to me a lot as well. I will say that when I was learning myself, I still am learning obviously, but when I was really learning from the beginning, I used to watch training videos from America, and they all take pictures and portraits and stuff in the church. I find out where I am, if I say to the vicar or the priest, can I just have 10 minutes after the ceremony to do some nice bridal and groom portraits in the church, where I can really frame it up nice and get some gorgeous pictures? They say no. And again, you get, if you pay, if your contribution, if they're paid, you can do it. That's what I get over here. I have managed to do some bridal and groom portraits in a church a while ago, which I'm going to show to you at some point. Now I've started doing videos, and they're lovely. I just wish I could do it all the time, but like I've said to you, 90% of the time they either say no, or the bride and groom hasn't paid you for that, and they class it as personal use, so they don't let you do that either. They usually let you take pictures on the grounds, that's usually no problem. The only thing that I find out on the grounds a lot of the time, there's graveyards. So watch for gravestones, because I hate it when I go on photographers' websites and I see gravestones as backdrops. I mean, it's just wrong. It's totally and utterly wrong. I don't care who it is, what you are, do never ever delete the picture. I'm going to go as far as to say get rid of it. Who wants to see a gravestone? Not unless it's somebody they've asked you to go and photograph in the picture, which isn't an unusual request. I have had that once. But as a rule, I see it so many times on photographers' websites, and there's a nice picture of bride and groom, there's a grave at the back, and I just think it's very off-putting, and I personally recommend you delete it, or watch out for it, or shoot at shallow depth of field, which is probably a bit easier said than done when you're doing group shots, because you can't really shoot at f2 when you're trying to get a full grouping shot. So be careful of that. of the graves, because it does happen a lot. Be careful of sun. You always want the sun behind the subject. If you can, it's nice if you can get the subject in shade, but sometimes it's not possible. I used to always use fill flash. Lately, over the past year, I've not been using it as much. Not because I don't like it, I absolutely love it. I like this light now, it fills your face with light and it gives you some nice light in those eyes. But it slows you down when you're in ETTL and you're taking a shot and then you're just tweaking it and then you get it right and then the next group come in and you focus somewhere different and your ETTL gets it wrong and it's sat there changing exposure all the time. It just slows you down. If you're going to use it, do what I'm going to start doing, is using it off camera, take a couple of shots to get it right in manual, have it far back, so that the inverse square law comes into play, so that if the group stands slightly further forward or further back, you're still going to get the same illumination as you got on the previous shot. Get it in manual, and that way you can just take pictures, click, 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 next group, click, 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 and all the pictures are going to be the same. ETTL becomes a drag when you're doing group shots to use it as fill flash. I used to do it, and I was quite good at it, but it did slow me down, and it stopped me getting certain expressions and certain emotion, because I had to keep checking that my fill flash was perfect, because I didn't want anything other than perfect fill flash. There's no point having it way under, because there's no point using it at all, and there's no point having it way over, because then it's overexposed and it looks a bag of crap anyway. So there's your tips. Get to the church, make sure you've got some good lenses, if not at least a nifty 50, it'll get you out of the crap. I'm telling you, the amount of times I can honestly give that lens a 10 out of 10 if you haven't got a lot of money, but you need a low light lens. Yeah, you're probably thinking, well, I can't zoom. No, you can't, but that comes at a cost. And to be honest, my best lenses are my primes anyway. My best lenses are my primes, and I've got to physically move in and out. I did get rid of a couple of my primes, if you remember me saying so, to get my L lenses. But now I've bought my primes back and kept my L lenses as well, because I miss the primes, because the primes are just so much sharper. Obviously you can go to f1.4, 1.6, 1.8, when you're doing video f2 and it looks absolutely stunning, even in my living room. By the way, just for convenience, I'm recording it on the 85mm f2 at ISO 125, 30th of a second, which is the minimum shutter speed for video. And I'm at f2, f2.2 or f2 on the 85mm. If I was shooting that now at 85mm at f4, this scene would be totally and utterly different. The wall and stuff would be in focus and it would just look not nowhere near as good. So that's my tips for you. Just go easy on the priest, but do your own work first. Beg, I beg. If I say to a priest, look, will you do this, will you do that, and they seem like they might do it but they might not, I'll beg them. I'll say, look, please, please, I'd rather that you let me do that, because it'll make their images or their video so much better. But obviously, the end result is, if they say no, it's no. You just can't do about it. Just make sure that you go in with your eyes open, and the bride and groom have got their eyes open. I'm going to end the video now with one final tip, and you're not going to like this one. One of the final tips I'm going to give you is, remember that it's a wedding, right? And no matter how much practice you do, and no matter how finicky you get, you won't get as finicky as me, I wouldn't have thought. I'm really finicky on poses, chins, I'm very finicky on the double chin. I always get them to put the chin forward and down slightly, and that big bubble goes underneath the chin here that you get. I don't know if the video will pick that up. Now, I don't mean go like that. That looks stupid, just a little bit and down, like that. Should get rid of that nice double chin. And the arms, I'm really finicky. What I've learned over the last year is that I'm still finicky now, but sometimes I just move on. You can get too caught up in thinking, well, your arm's not right, your chin's not right, she's not smiling, he's not doing this, and he's not doing that. And you can actually, one, you don't get as good emotion in your shots because you've spoiled it by trying to perfect it. Now, I'm not saying don't perfect it if you can, but perfect it as quick and as efficient as you can. If you can't perfect it, just move on, take it and move on. I've watched myself on a couple of my mate days videos, tidying up group shots, and don't get me wrong, the shot looked better in the end result, but the emotion wasn't there then. It had gone. because people are just getting pissed off. I've got to put my arm up, do this, do that. Now we know we're doing it for the good of the video or the good of the picture, but there's a line, and you've got to learn to accept that everything's not going to be perfect. You're not in the studio and everything's not going to be perfect. That's the final tip. But remember, if you can tidy it up quick and efficiently, get it done quick, get the shot taken and move on, or the video, whatever it may be. Thanks for watching. Please comment and subscribe.